Here is a story with dialogue about a woman who steals from stores and gets arrested. It was just another day for the professional shoplifter. She had been casing the large department store for weeks, studying the layouts, security camera positions, and guard patrol patterns. Her eyes scanned the aisles, sizing up the most valuable and easily pocketable items. With a subtle flick of her wrist, an expensive hairstyling tool disappeared into her large tote bag. A few quick sidesteps and a designer fragrance gift set followed. She was a master of misdirection and sleight of hand. This was almost too easy. She moved with casual confidence through the bustling store, subtly palming items into her bag whenever she sensed a blind spot. Clothes, electronics, jewelry. It all went into the bottomless tote until it strained against the weight. Just one more sweep and she'd have the mother lode defense later. As she turned the corner, her heart dropped. There, standing before her, was a large security guard. Arms crossed and eyes narrowed behind mirrored sunglasses. "That's far enough, ma'am," he rumbled, taking a step forward to block her exit. "I'm going to need you to come with me." She feigned innocence, clutching her tote closer. "Excuse me, there must be some mistake." The guard cut her off with a shake of his head. "Don't bother. We've had you on camera the whole time. Empty the bag right here, or I'll have to call the police." Her mind raced as she weighed her options. Flee and face who knows what charges. Or play it cool. Look, there's no need for that. Elizabeth, why don't we discuss this like adults? The guard narrowed his eyes further, clearly unmoved by her attempt to humanize the situation. Bag. Now, with trembling hands, she slowly upended the tote, spilling thousands of dollars worth of ill-gotten goods at their feet in a cascading clatter. The guard's eyes went wide behind his mirrored shades as the stolen items tumbled out. He let out a low whistle. "Quite the little crime spree you've got going on here." Her cheeks burned with shame and fear as she realized there was no talking her way out of this. The evidence was damning. "You have one choice," he said, his tone brooking no argument. "I will shave your hair right here and record the whole thing live so the world can see your shame. Or I call the cops and you go to jail." "Your pick, Elizabeth," she recoiled, clutching her long chestnut locks protectively. "What? No, you can't be serious. That's insane." The guard simply stared at her, unmoving. "Well, I'm waiting. The broadcast is ready to go live with a couple taps on my phone." Elizabeth's mind raced. Getting arrested could mean years behind bars. But to be publicly humiliated, her beautiful hair shorn off for the world to gawk at, was that any better? "Please, there has to be another way," she pleaded. He shook his head slowly. "My way the highway, lady, but the clock is ticking." "What's it going to be?" Her shoulders slumped in defeat, she whispered, hot tears pricking at her eyes. "Do it then." "But I swear if you put one nick on me, I'm a professional," the guard said flatly. "Now sit down on that stool and don't move." With shaking legs, Elizabeth obeyed, trying not to look at the growing crowd of confused onlookers. She heard the guard's phone camera click on behind her. "Please," she begged one last time, her voice barely above a whisper. "Have mercy," but the guard was immovable. "I gave you a choice," he stated flatly. "You made your decision." The unmistakable buzz of electric clippers firing up made Elizabeth flinch. She squeezed her eyes shut as she felt the cold metal press against the nape of her neck. "Hold still now," the guard instructed. "This will go easier if you don't fight." She nodded almost imperceptibly. Fresh tears spilling down her cheeks as the clippers began to rasp through her hair. Thick chestnut tresses fluttered to the tiled floor in coiling strands. "Why are you doing this?" She managed between ragged breaths, trying to divert her mind from the sickening sound and sensation. "To make an example of you," he replied without emotion. "Maybe some public humiliation will make you reconsider your life of crime." Elizabeth shuddered as the clippers worked their way up the back of her skull in buzzing lines. leaving smooth naked scalp in their wake. She could feel the eyes of the growing crowd burning into her. "Please, I'm begging you." Her words dissolved into racking sobs as her shorn locks continued raining down around the stool. Soon her entire head was stripped bare, a pitiful sight of utter degradation. The guard stepped around to face her, clippers still buzzing in his hand. "Not done yet. Can't leave any stubble." "No, no more," she cried, trying to cover her denuded head. But the guard was implacable, grabbing her wrist and wrenching it away. "Hold still, Elizabeth. This is the price for your choices today." The guard's voice was emotionless as he roughly grabbed her chin, tilting her shorn head this way and that to ensure not a single hair remained. Elizabeth could only sob in humiliation as the clippers methodically stripped away the last vestiges of her once luxurious mane. When at last the buzzing stopped and her head was a smooth naked cap, the guard stepped back with a curt nod. "They're all done. Let that be a lesson to you." Elizabeth barely registered his words through her gasping cries. She clutched at her bare scalp, unable to comprehend her horrifying new appearance. How could he have done this to her? The guard paid her breakdown no mind, however. With a few taps, he ended the live video stream and slipped his phone back into his pocket. But rather than release her, he then crossed his thick arms over his broad chest. "Don't go anywhere," he stated flatly. "The police are on their way." Elizabeth's head snapped up, eyes wide and streaked with tears. What? But I thought this was my punishment, did you?" The guard smirked humor. "Leslie. This was just the start. I said I'd make an example of you, but that's not all. Please, you can't," she begged, panic rising in her throat. "I've learned my lesson, I swear. No more stealing ever. Just let me go." But the guard was unmoved by her pleas. "Can't do that. This little self-employed shoplifting spree of yours has been going on way too long. The cops have been after you for months and I aim to flush you out into the open. Months." Elizabeth paled, suddenly feeling dizzy. But how could they? The guard tisked dismissively. "Please. Your little game of hitting store after store, fencing the hot goods to dealers across the city. We've had you on the radar for a while, just no solid evidence to make an arrest." Until now, he continued with grim satisfaction. "You've got no idea how much product we've recovered and how many fences are going down because of you." The wail of approaching sirens made Elizabeth's heart seize in her chest. This was so much worse than she could have imagined.